I was at a wedding and I was at this beautiful, I'll call it a manor, but it was a huge house. And the patriarch of the family, is drinking a scotch, smoking a cigar. This is a couple hours before the wedding. And I asked him, about his job. And he said he sold generators for Honda, these portable generators. And he showed me one. It was plugged into like whatever was, keeping the beer cold or whatever, or the food hot, whatever. And it was this, little Honda gas powered generator. And I just remember thinking like, you know what? There's a lot of opportunity in all the things around us.
Welcome to the Lion's Den, hosted by Lance Bachman.
Good afternoon, everybody. Bill Rossell coming to you live from the Lion's Den. And I got to tell you, I am super pumped today to have a guest on the Den that I've been trying. I don't know how long I've been trying to get him on here, but his schedule's so crazy with what he has going on. But some of you might know him from some other activities that go on in the world. But I am really pumped to have Paul Redman, i.e. Call Paul, as he's been known throughout the years.
That's right.
On the Den today. And so, Paul, this is a little bit of a change for you.
It's a big change, and I'm going to admit I'm not 100% comfortable with it. I'm already like thinking what I want to ask you, but that's not my job.
No, today it's not. It's your job today to sit back, and we'll get into that of where your kind of job has been and what's been going on. But I want to make sure for the audience that maybe doesn't know who Paul Redman is. First of all, I call him a friend for starters.
Thank you. Likewise.
A colleague that I feel comfortable that I can pretty much say, hey, I need to bounce something off you, and that I can call you up and talk. But that's on a personal nature, which is always great. But you are the vice president of sales for Contractor Commerce.
That's right.
Which is the pioneering e-commerce environment for the home service space, preferably to the HVAC environment that's been around. Really kind of launching this platform in 2018. And, this has kind of been a big shift in what you've had going on in the course of your career. And we're going to get a little bit into that today.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's always important that, our industry, and I say our industry because
Sure.
the industry that we work, manage, live, love, that we're really a part of, but we don't interact and do the
home
job.
services.
Yeah, is home services. And, so first of all, welcome to the Den.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I can already tell that you do a great show, and I'm honored to be a guest and glad we get to have a friendship and do a little work together. This is fun.
So, one of the things that I like to do and kind of just start things off is to get,
oh boy,
we're gonna throw it out there. Just some rapid fire questions so that forget about Contractor Commerce, forget about To the Point, forget about Rhino Strategic, Lennox,
right.
CH Logistics, all of your Wittenberg, all of your career professional.
Gosh, your prep work is unbelievable. You have set the bar for preparation for guest hosting. This is amazing. So impressed.
I appreciate that because I take pride in the fact is that you're volunteering your time for me and for our audience to talk about what's going on in your world. I want to make sure that I give the best content out there. But I always like to start off with rapid fire questions that are completely kind of unrelated professionally to what we have going on.
Oh, and yeah, so, I love these. Thank you.
The first one I have to ask you is if you didn't get into sales and the home services space as far as from a sales and, online marketing perspective, and then obviously an inventory, sales, business consulting, what job would you have done?
I think about this a lot, particularly on long days. And I have two ways to answer it. The first way is I'll kind of share how I ended up in sales. I was in 7th grade. I was at my friend's house for dinner, and not to segue straight into sad stuff, but my father passed away when I was, I guess, 10 years old. And my job wasn't to sit around at 10, 11, 12 years old and aspire about what I want to be. It was to stay out of trouble. Right. And don't cost extra money for my family. So I'm at my friend's house, and my friend's mother says to me, Terry McMiniman is her name. She said, "You'd be great in sales." And I don't know, looking back on it, if that was a compliment or I don't know what was going on or what we were talking about, but she said, you would be great in sales. So it didn't take me long to connect the dots between being in sales and having variable income and, having nice houses and cars and those things. So at that age, I truly decided to be in sales in like 7th or 8th grade. And it was reaffirmed. I think I was 9 or, maybe 9th or 10th grade. I was at a wedding and I was at this beautiful, I'll call it a manor, but it was a huge house. And the patriarch of the family, is drinking a scotch, smoking a cigar. This is a couple hours before the wedding. And I asked him, about his job. And he said he sold generators for Honda, these portable generators. And he showed me one. It was plugged into like whatever was, keeping the beer cold or whatever, or the food hot, whatever. And it was this, little Honda gas powered generator. And I just remember thinking like, you know what, there's a lot of opportunity in all the things around us. And I remember like specifically, and I've talked about this before, about that same age, like driving down the road with my mom and looking at guardrails, right? And I'm in the back seat and I'm bored and I'm looking at guardrails thinking like, you know what, somebody's got to sell guardrails. There sure is a lot of guardrails. So I've constructed that narrative, 20 years later, as I look back and I'm like, how did I get into sales? My young daughter, Goldie, just a couple of weeks ago, came downstairs and asked my wife, she said, hey, Mom, what's a salesperson? And, or a salesman, what's a salesman? And my wife told her, and Goldie said, is that good or bad? And so whatever she was watching on YouTube, like they had framed this salesperson as, a bad person or whatever. So, anyhow, what would I be doing? So that is how I got into sales. What would I be doing? I guess the question is what I would be doing. I would love to be a full-time, like middle school, high school basketball coach, right? If the job paid a little bit better, full transparency. So in my twilight years, you will see me hanging out middle school, high school, coaching hoops, working out with the kids and doing that. So, hopefully I can do that.
Do you still play recreationally?
I don't. I had back surgery in 2012 and I've been very careful. I do some other things, but my issue with basketball.
I will get to that as well.
Issue with basketball is this. So I have really, really good knees. Like, I don't know if I've even ever had like a bug bite on my knees. I don't know anyone else my height or 6'5" and above. I'm 6'8". I don't know anyone else this tall with good knees. And I'm terrified of messing up my knees because I enjoy being able to walk and not being in pain. So I don't play basketball. I shoot around a little bit,
so
mess
skiing,
around.
Snowboarding, out of the question.
Have you ever seen a video of a baby giraffe moments after birth? Yes. Falling out of, I don't know what body part you would call that on a giraffe. I assume that it's called everything else, but it's like that. I am going skiing with my executive team here at Contractor Commerce in Park City in a couple of weeks, and I've warned them like I need 2 days of just magic carpet. So I'm going to be like with the little kids learning how to ski again.
I'm going to give you 3 key points.
I'm taking notes.
It is not how you ski. It is how you look when you go to ski.
That's right. You're talking gear, right?
Gear is.
Oh yeah.
Gear totally. Is very, very important. You don't have to make it out of the lodge. You just have to the lodge.
That's a great.
That's the first one.
Oh, okay. All right.
The second one is Park City. As you know, my wife Sosa is from Salt Lake City, so I'm going to give you 2 places that you need to go when you're in Park City. First and foremost, you want to go to High Whiskey in Park City. It's off the main drag. High Whiskey is a distillery that does bourbon, rye, phenomenal place.
Okay.
And the second one is you want to do the No Name bar. It's about halfway up the hill. Okay. And many people have been known to go in there and then roll back down the hill as far as where they're going.
Okay. Got it. Done.
Right.
Thank you.
So here's my next question for you. You're on a deserted island. What would be the one record album that you would take, and what would be the one movie you would have to have with you?
That's a great question. Record. So I would have answered this differently 24 hours ago, but last night I was in the car and I heard some live Garth Brooks. Okay. And so I dug up the Garth Brooks Live in Dublin. Was it Live in Dublin, like 1997? Double C. I would take that one because it's a double album.
Okay.
And Garth Brooks is highly underrated and just brings me back to all the good times of my life. So we'll go. I'm not even a country guy, but I would go Garth Brooks.
Okay. And the movie?
The movie. Can I go TV series?
You can go TV series.
So I originally thought like, okay, I haven't seen a ton of movies. I naturally want to go to like Shawshank or something like that, but I'm obsessed with Yellowstone right now. Shawshank is? No.
Yeah. You're obsessed with Yellowstone?
I'm obsessed with Yellowstone.
We
Yeah.
should do our own podcast just on Yellowstone.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on with Yellowstone. I got to spend some time last year out in Jackson Hole and got to
Yeah.
be a cowboy for a couple of days. So thank you, Chris. And um, I really, really, every time I watch that show, I just want to go trade my truck and get a Dodge Ram.
Did
you
you
know,
did you
and
know
grow a
that
beard.
Taylor Sheridan, the writer of Yellowstone, was in Sons of Anarchy?
I did not.
He was in the second season, and so one of the thoughts is that because he has written himself into the script, is very much like Kurt Sutter writing himself into the script as an actor, and Kurt Sutter was in Sons of Anarchy.
Interesting. You're just you know it all.
I'm full of a tremendous amount of knowledge that cannot help you do anything in life, but it makes you look really smart on a podcast.
That's right. I love it.
Bourbon, neat or on the rocks?
On the rocks for a long period of time, with more rocks added to create more water and to make it colder.
Okay.
Basil Hayden.
If aside from necessities, what is the one thing you cannot go without on a daily basis?
A full night's sleep. Is that a necessity?
It is a necessity.
Okay, so full night's sleep. I have to have exercise, and this isn't like, this is, I have to move. I don't know what, the way I'm wired, I call it getting my wiggles out. So this morning I went for a run just to get my wiggles out, not to become, a champion runner, but I got to get the wiggles out. And once I get the wiggles out, I can focus on what I'm doing, and I've got longevity. If I didn't go get a run in today, even right now, I'd be like, okay, when's this over? I need to do something else. But once I get the wiggles out, that checks like all my boxes personally. Like, it checks all the boxes. I can focus and execute. Got to get the wiggles out.
All right. Obviously, and then the last question I had was, if you could have dinner with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, my dad.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah. My dad. So I was, I guess 9 or 10. And I was just talking to someone about this. Is going to take a completely like random turn here. But just how important it is to, like, my mom always says it, like, your dad would be so proud. And like, that means a lot to me. But like, I think that human beings in general need to look their father in the eye and feel that, like, no matter what, no matter how many times someone tells me like, oh yeah, your dad's really proud of you, blah, blah, blah. Like, until I can sit down with my dad again and him tell me, like, in his words, how proud he is of me, I'll continue to keep trying to fill that void somehow and overwork and all those sort of things. So that's just, but I think that could lead to a broader discussion. But yeah, my dad.
So does that make you as a parent, and not trying to take it down a different path?
Sure.
Does it make you as a parent say, hey, I need to make sure that I emphasize to my children how much I love them and how much they're important to me, that because life is short, it's so short that sometimes we get frustrated with all the small minutia that goes on in our lives. That, does it allow you to take the time to say, I want to focus on that with my kids?
It does. Yeah. It gives me perspective. What really gives me perspective is, my dad was 47 when he died. I'm going to be 40 next year. My natural biological clock kind of ends at 47 in my brain, that like, I feel like I'm heading toward, that was the dad that I knew up to 47. So as I get closer to that, it gets more and more real. But yeah, I try to not take any day for granted and try to stay super active with kids.
That's awesome.
If you like this content and you're trying to grow your business, follow me at Lance Bachman and Lance Bachman Digital on Facebook. LFG, time to grow.
Let's get into the nuts and bolts. So you graduate, and your first job out of college is?
Yes. So I worked for a publicly held third-party logistics company that was at the time a $4 billion company, but is now like 16 or 17 billion. So C.H. Robinson, you've never heard of them. They're a trucking company without trucks, so non-asset-based transportation. I worked there for 3 years, but I swear I got 20 years experience in 3 years. And here's why. So I get out of school. So I go to school, liberal arts, Division III. One thing that, most people know is Division III schools cannot give athletic scholarships. So what happens is they take their tuition bill, which is like $45,000 a year, by the way. Spoiler alert for anyone who wants to send their kids to a private liberal arts school. It's expensive, but that's the sticker price, right? So you get a little bit for academics, you get a little bit for leadership, you get a little bit, you get the scholarship down, but you still are paying, relatively close to state tuition. Now, to most people are like, oh, state tuition's a great deal. State tuition is still anywhere between 15 and 20 grand a year, right? So I got a great deal to go to this private liberal arts school and play basketball, just like a lot of people, on my team. But I still had significant costs to go there, right? So I get out of school and I'm really deep in debt. And thank goodness, no regrets. It's got a happy ending. But I get out of school and I've got this tuition bill. I didn't come from a family with a lot of resources. So I get out and the first thing I do is get a car payment, right? So I've got a car, I've got tuition, I've got a cell phone, I've got an apartment, and a lot of what I'll just say, headwind coming my way at 22 years old, getting out of school. And so I had a really rough time. Like surprise, you graduate college and you think like people just show up at your door, like, college recruiters, like in basketball, and they just want you to come work for them. That's not the way it works. So I'm on monster.com, like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting a job. Like I'm working in a hotel making $7 an hour in the summer. One day a recruiter calls and it's a Minnesota number. And I'm at this point, like it's starting to mess with my psyche. It's like 6 or 8 months out. No, I get 6 months out of college. And it's CH Robinson, and they call and they meet up. They had started up a branch, and I had an interview with them. I remember them asking me in an interview, like, what do you do for fun? And I'm like, look for jobs. Like, what do you mean fun? Like, I don't do anything for fun. I need income. So they offered me a job, and the base salary was $29,900. So $29,900, which I believe looking back on that was just under $1,000 every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Right. Which at the time, again, better than zero.
You were living large.
But the key was there was opportunity to earn bonuses. And you could earn up to, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 8 grand. So in my mind, I'm like, wow, well, 29,000. If I work really hard, that could be 40,000 in my mind. So my mom made $40,000 at her peak annually when growing up. So in my mind, $40,000 was adulthood. Like $40,000, you're an adult.
You were adulting at this point.
You were adulting, right? So I just told myself, like, you know what, Paul, you have a $40,000 a year job, not a $29,000 a year job, right? You have a $40,000 a year job. So you have to go out and earn it every day. So this job, I'm giving you way more detail. What do you budget an hour for this thing? Cause I'm going deep here in a moment.
That's all right.
So
We're good.
My first day on the job, I have 2 computer screens. We have 2 phones, and it's a brokerage, right? So you're buying and selling space on trucks. So if you know anything about trucking, which is still kind of in my blood, my dad was a truck driver. If you're taking a load of, I don't know, boxes from Philadelphia to Chicago.
Right now, nobody's taking loads of anything anywhere. We got
anywhere, right? Exactly. So let's say you've got a truck full of beer that needs to go from Philadelphia to Chicago. That's great. You get paid good money. Maybe it's $2 a mile to go all the way to Chicago. Well, when you get to Chicago and empty out, you have an empty truck. And guess where you need to go? You need to go to Philadelphia. So you need to find what's called a backhaul, right? So there's these brokerages where you're like, hey, I need to find something in Chicago to go to Philadelphia. And then based on supply and demand and all these sort of things, it's like, hey, they'll come back for $1 an hour, or they'll come back for basically just their fuel costs. So every day you'd have just a bunch of, loads that needed covered and truck drivers that needed to get to their kids, baseball game. And you were just brokering back and forth, getting new customers. So I did that for 3 years. I have so many cool stories about that experience. I still, to this day, I made so many phone calls, so many outbound phone calls. Sometimes when my phone rings, now this is, how old am I? I'm almost 40. I know I've said that like 6 times on here. You can tell it's in my head. I'm 22, 23 at the time. There are times I want to answer my phone. Hello, this is Paul with CH Robinson, to this day, because I was that heavy on the phones. So when I set up on the job, I had two monitors, I had 2 phones. They ordered me, we called it the Star Set. It was this headset you could use so that you didn't have to actually pick up the phone. Yeah. Bill, I kid you not. This is what made me who I am today. We can stop this conversation right now. We can hang it up after this. They were saying, hey, well, when your Star Set comes in, you'll be able to make some more outbound calls. And I said, no, screw it. So I took the handset and I held it up to my ear. And for 2 weeks, I held the handset up to my ear so much that my pinky went numb. I kid you not. For months, Bill, my 2 fingers right here were numb, because in my mind, I'm not being dramatic. Like, this is a true story.
You had good knees.
What's that? I had good knees, right?
Good knees, bad hands.
Bad hands. So no, I have my arm like this. I mean, it's funny. So the shirt I'm wearing right here, I used to be on the phone so much, I would get holes in my dress shirt here, that elbow. We call them blowouts. But I did that job for 3 years, and what an incredible way to start a career, because you kind of get oriented with small businesses, you get oriented with supply and demand, you get oriented with enterprise sales. So like I'd have customers who were big, international beverage shippers that we'd have to fly to New York and, whip up our best, Gap dress shirt we could to go in and, sell space on trucks. But still to this day, very, very grateful. If my son or children got out of school and went to work for CH Robinson, I'd be super proud. So shout out to CH Robinson.
So you make the transition from CH to Lennox in your
yes.
Okay.
So and I'm in date
10 years at Lennox.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought I would retire there. I really did. So I was doing that job, Dayton, Ohio. It's where I grew up. I was still I needed some space. My wife and I at this time, we had a premature child. When I say premature, like not the, couple months premature, he was 10 years premature. Okay. So we had our preemie, 10 year preemie. And it's getting serious. Like I need to really start working on my career. So I started looking at transferring from Dayton to Colorado. My wife and I wanted to go west. We were looking at Boise, Idaho, Denver, Colorado, some other places. And I kind of narrowed in on Denver, and through a friend of a friend was introduced to someone who had some real estate out there to look for a rental home. Right. And when I called this guy, he's like, wow, we met up, and he said, you remind me of someone, you'd be great for this company, Lennox. So they flew me out, did an interview, knew nothing about HVAC, and they gave me a shot. And same type of deal. Like, they gave me a little bit of base salary and then a target to hit. And so I just latched onto the target. And it's interesting. So I worked there for 10 years. I moved, 3 or 4 times. Thought I was going to retire there, which I'll get to in a moment. But someone asked me, I was talking to a friend yesterday who lost his job through COVID. And he was telling me how he's like, man, you're so lucky you found a niche and you were so smart. And I'm like, man, it wasn't because I was smart. It's because I was desperate.
Right.
Like I was desperate because if I didn't take care of my customers, if I didn't answer the phone, if I pissed people off, I wasn't going to be able to feed my family. Right. So I didn't choose HVAC because like, I can see that one day, 10 years from now, it's going to be an underserved space with all this opportunity and all the technology is going to be behind, which all turned out to be true. But to this day, like I operate the way I operate because of pure desperation, right? I want to take care of everything to the best of my ability so I can take care of my family. So no, desperation's a little.
It's interesting to say that because somebody that we both know in Keith Mercurio.
Yes.
First of all, phenomenal guy. Probably one of the most motivating guys that I've had the opportunity to meet, not in the just in general. Like,
yes.
He's somebody that you could just sit there and listen to him talk and be like, wow.
Yeah.
Like what's next? What's the proverbial next thing? But he said to me, I said, Keith, you have traded over 20,000 different people to him. And I said, what motivates you to get on the platform each and every day and like bring it? And he said the fear of failing.
Right.
That fear of I can't take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to find a way to, and I hate to use like The Rock, but I got to bring it each and every day. And I got to make it so that people are trusting me, in my opinion, of what I'm doing, that they're going to say, I'm going to believe in you. I'm going to latch on to you, and I'm going to listen to you. And it's interesting that yours was desperation. It's interesting because, one of the things about, the business that, you've kind of transitioned from at Rhino, is that, I love working with people in the trades, not because they're specifically, 50, 60, $70 million, maybe $3-5 million business owners.
Sure.
But they are phenomenal at marketing. They're phenomenal at running businesses. They're phenomenal at leading people. HVAC is just their widget, no different than Domino's is pizza.
Right.
So to me, you've met a lot of people in this space from when you were at Rhino or when you were at Lennox. Let me know a little bit about your thoughts on that aspect of the people in this business.
Well, it's interesting because I think about some of the people I met early in my career. My perspective on them now is so different because I truly didn't understand at the time what they were doing as entrepreneurs in space. Because at the time, I'm working for a manufacturer. I worked there again, like you said, 10 years. You have a certain relationship that changes over time. But one of the things that I recognized is that these are the real feet on the ground for the American economy, right? Local jobs, local work. They're really creating real value. And the people who are good people first, right, and surround themselves with other good people seem to always kind of persevere and come out on top. So I don't know if that answers specifically your question, but I'll talk a little bit I, so back to Lennox. So I was there 10 years. I thought I'd retire there. I really did. I had a clear path. I had good coaches. I was told I had runway. I was shown kind of where I could be, and my understanding of the world at that point was that, or just back to adulthood, you work at a place for 20, 25 years, you max out your income, you get some stock along the way, you save as much as you possibly can, and you retire. And that was the only path I saw to really wealth. Right. And so as I was doing that, I was pretty proud of myself. I felt good. I was getting good feedback from the people I was working with. I was getting really, really, I was kind of progressing well, all the while working with my contractors, right? And I couldn't really see the connection on value creation with the contractors. I would say wow, they have nice cars and nice houses. I wonder, the wheels started to turn for me. And it wasn't until later in my career, I was driving all over the Carolinas and I was listening to podcasts. I was listening to the Tim Ferriss podcast, and Tim would bring on different entrepreneurs and different people. And then what I learned through that process was, the one traditional path of working for a large company and saving all your money and getting stock and cashing that stock out and becoming CEO. That's one path. But there's also a way to build value through operating a business on a micro level and scaling to a macro level. That is where the big winners play. So that is what kind of motivated my move outside. So, outside of Lennox to Rhino, which was a huge, huge shock to a lot of people I was working with, including my family. They're like, who's this company? Where are you going? Who's this guy? But long story short, I started to look across the country and realize wow, there's real opportunity in this space. And most contractors are, as cliche as it sounds, pretty far behind. And most of the resources that are out there aren't objective. They're usually just they're, co-branded things or co-op things. There's not someone out there who's really niched down making this happen. Before I met you, of course. And so, made that move to experience what it's like to, work in small business. But the cool part was, and the thing that I valued the most during that period of time, I was there almost 4 years, was I had always wanted to work with friends. I wanted to roll up my sleeves and get rid of the, I knew the corporate playbook pretty well, and I enjoyed it and still do, and have a lot of respect for what it's like to work within an organization and gain influence and traction, among different stakeholders and all that. But I wanted to have a whiteboard and a friend and a buddy and roll up our sleeves and look at the opportunity, come up with a plan, execute. And that's what I got to do at Rhino, which was awesome. So yeah, that was a fun experience.
It seems like that you've subscribed to Beth Dutton's number 3 point of how to gain wealth, which obviously I won't go to number 4, but I will go to
yes,
number 3. Number 1 obviously is to inherit, which you didn't, as you alluded to.
That's so funny.
Number 2 is you didn't steal it. Number 3 is you work hard. And I think that, to your point, as far as these.
Oh, number 4. That's so funny. You just reminded me. That's so funny.
And number 3 is that no matter how hard you work and what you do in life, hard work will outshine skill any day of the week.
No, absolutely.
Obviously you've been a co-host of To the Point for
2 years now. We're almost 100 episodes in.
It's crazy how these things come about, but you've met a lot of influential people. Who's the person that you were like, that person just blew me away?
I mean, you already mentioned Keith Mercurio, but that's a gimme, because when you're one-on-one with Keith, you find yourself kind of mesmerized. He's just got a gift. I made the mistake once of inviting him to dinner with my wife, and my kids, and my kids were like,
He's 6'6",
Mom,
but he take you to the hole.
no, we went somewhere on the beach. I don't know. But I just remember my kids being like, Mommy has a crush on Mr. Keith. I was like, oh my gosh, no, she doesn't. It's just that her eyes twinkled every time he talked. So Keith was really profound. I remember getting off that podcast, and like the best podcasts for me are the ones where, and this is generally authentic, where we learn, like we forget we're interviewing. Like right now, like I feel like I'm getting to know you more, which is the best possible outcome of this, right? If someone listens to it, that's great. So Keith, but you know who's really impressed me, and I don't know, man, I'm just in love with this guy, is Tom Howard. Tom Howard is so impressive what he's doing at multiple companies, and you know what he's been entrusted with over at Service Titan, and what he's doing with Lee's and whatever else he owns. I mean, he is someone that, as I think about my own career, you know, having multiple interests in things and just kind of, you know, building as much value as you can during the period of time that you can, I think of Tom. So Tom's been great, but man, there's been so many good guests.
So outside of your skill set as a hip hop dancer in college, I'm going to now give you a title.
Okay.
I'm going to allow you to be a sculptor.
A sculptor.
Okay. And you are going to be tasked with sculpting the Mount Rushmore of the home service industry. Who are your 4 heads that you put on your Mount Rushmore?
Oh, this is so hard. I'm going to get the first one out of the way. Ken Haynes.
Okay.
Ken Haynes.
Yeah.
What Ken has done with the wrench group in a very humble, strategic way. I mean, the guy just bought Morris Jenkins for, I don't know how much. You can Google it, but the fact that he operates so humbly. This is hard because I naturally want to, like, I'm in a fishbowl with the podcast and with some other things and with Facebook groups. Like, you think there's only, 2,000 people in this industry. There's 100,000. I put Ken Haynes up there. It's hard not to just go, oh, Dave Geiger and Ken Goodrich and Leland Smith, because I want to go more diverse than that. But like right now, I mean, those are the 4 kind of, influential different ways to get to the future of the industry. Meeting all these people and realizing, like, the difference between them and me, we all have the beliefs, we all have the aspirations, we all at this point have the knowledge and the friendships and the relationships and in the worldview, but it was execution, right? If I believe the world to be a certain way and I'm not going to execute on it because, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt feelings or whatever, that's the difference between the people who are on Mount Rushmore and the people like me looking up.
When you made that transition from Lennox and you make the transition into Rhino, and now you come into this world of digital marketing and selling. This is kind of a 2-part question. Number 1, tell me about the first sale you ever made.
Oh, this was fun.
The first one is always the one that's the most memorable. And then secondly, what's the one you can look back and say, man, I put this program together that really impacted this client's business? Because and I think you might actually know this particular client, Pete and Alicia Green at Go Green, Plumbing, Heating and Air in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I can look to say, I've watched their business grow from 700,000 to 7.5 million.
Yes.
And to see that it's no longer you've impacted somebody's life,
right,
by something that you did.
Yep.
I'm curious of those 2 questions as far as what you can look back and answer. Who was the first, and who's the one that made you made the most impression in business?
Easy. I don't know if Joe Border from Border Heating in Wheaton, Illinois knows this, but he was my first customer. So I had, I had left. So this was interesting. When I left Lennox, this was really, really risky. I left Lennox on a Monday. My first day at Rhino was on a Tuesday in Phoenix at a Lennox meeting. Right. So we needed this transition.
Talk about irony, right?
Oh my gosh, Lennox. So I had a non-compete, non-solicit. I, resigned and kind of told them my story and what I was doing. And they could have said, hey, that's great. And you cannot talk to any of our customers or come to our events or talk to our employees for 2 years. But they chose not to enforce it. Right. So I got to fly on a plane out from I closed down the office. I had a distribution center just down the road from my house, which is weird. It's like 3 miles from here. And flew to Phoenix, put on an orange shirt. I'm working the booth at a Lennox meeting. So really, really like sliver. And the first couple days, we met a guy named Joe Border from Border Heating. and he wanted to work with us. He came fired up after a breakout session, and we built him a website. Now, what I love about the story about Joe is, and this is, you can identify with this too, a win for one contractor is not the same as a win for Joe, right? We built a $3,500 website for Joe. Now, disclaimer, websites don't cost $3,500. That goes to show you that I didn't know what I was doing, right? So we built this, $3,500 WordPress website and put his company story on it and put a ticker on it that showed, how long he'd been in business and helped tell his family story. And then, oh, by the way, organized all the, different services and things that he offered. And it was a game changer for Joe. Like, I don't know, like if you can track results, I'm sure he can, but this was a big win for Joe. And all we did was rebuild a website. And it always reminded me that, like, you don't have to spend $50,000 a month and, buy 11 new trucks to share value with your customer. You just have to give them what they need. And Joe needed a new website. And so I love that I can go look at his website now and just know that, I had a little piece of it. But yeah, and he's been a good friend and a good advocate for me personally and professionally, and really supportive. I got the nicest note from him when I left to go do this with Contractor Commerce. So Joe Border. Now, customer that I've impacted, there's a lot. I can't share specific details, but I will tell you Brad Campbell with Campbell Comfort up in New Jersey. To watch where he was and where his mind is and where he is now is just one of the greatest joys of my time there. So Brad, I admire you, man. You are a good friend, and I hope you're listening to this, but you're awesome. Keep it up.
So great softball and throwing it up and segueing from me. You make yes. You did want to kind of interview me as I'm interviewing you.
I like talking. I want to do this more often.
You have made a big shift in your life, and you've left obviously Rhino, and you've headed to Contractor Commerce. I was hoping you could tell the audience a little bit about it, because I don't really think, and we work with probably 150 to 175 heating and air conditioning clients across the country, from Nexstar, CEO Warrior, Blue Collar Success Group, across the board. I truly don't think that people have a strong understanding at this point about
Correct.
Contractor Commerce, and specifically what Contractor Commerce has the ability to do to help the heating and air conditioning contractor to grow their business. So with that being said, I'd like you to talk a little bit about this transitional move and what the whole podcast is getting to this point.
Yes, no, thank you. So for those who fast forwarded through all my nonsense, here's the meat of it. So Contractor Commerce, so e-commerce for contractors. What does that mean, and why does it matter? I'm going to back up a little bit. When I was at Lennox, I, was in Dallas, and I had the opportunity for 2 years to just kind of learn about the business, and I got to meet a ton of customers and do a lot of different things. And, customers kind of, there's not a ton of difference in contractors, right? They have service, they have maintenance, they have install, they have retail, they sell high end, they sell low end. Like if you look across the country, like there's really not one person who's just an outlier, right? But in Cincinnati, Ohio, there was a customer that was a huge outlier because they were one of the largest customers in the country by a long shot, and they didn't buy one piece of equipment. They only bought filters. Weirdest thing. So through that process, I met someone who would go on to become one of my really good friends, and Will Hausch, who is the founder and president of Contractor Commerce. But to understand Contractor Commerce, you kind of have to hear how that kind of all played out. So Will was a third generation contractor. So grandfather, father, Will got out of school, kind of had the business going. This is in the recession. He sees Amazon being a thing and thinks like, if Amazon's a marketplace and people are going there to buy stuff, let's sell stuff there. So he started testing by selling. He built a little e-commerce system and started testing, selling things like filters and some small parts on the internet. That was in 2006. By 2012, he had sold the family business and focused exclusively on direct-to-consumer e-commerce for things like furnace filters. At the time, also built and ran HVAC.com, which was eventually sold to a great private equity company down in Charlotte a couple of years ago. Through that process, has become the leading direct-to-consumer filter company in the nation that no one's ever heard about.
Right.
So as it stands today, we will probably ship. Got to keep it vague here, between 2,000 and 4,000 orders for filters today and tomorrow and the day after and Saturday and Sunday chances are if a customer is buying a filter online, there's a good chance that we might be doing the fulfillment of that. So we have 2 locations. That's where we're going to Park City. We have a location in Salt Lake City and a location in Cincinnati. And it's your traditional kind of distribution facility, right? So you've got people in vests and forklifts and, trucks getting loaded and FedEx coming and FedEx going all day long, 7 days a week. That's our core business. That's what we call the core. We do that business through a lot of different channels, not, Amazon being one of them, but a lot of different channels. We have different websites, different ways we go to market. What we're doing with contractor commerce, and we call it our life's work, but we've taken everything that's made us successful as an e-commerce player, and we're giving it basically to contractors so that they can do e-commerce, so that they can have an online shopping experience on their website. So I want to talk a little bit, kind of zoom out from the industry a little bit. Think about all of the different companies and all the different brands that sell stuff to consumers, right? Our contractors, our friends, they're in that bucket. How many of them do not have the ability to buy something on a website? Very few, right? If you are a business and you're selling a thing that a consumer buys, you can generally buy it off a website. We believe that in the future, it will make absolute sense for contractors to have some sort of online shopping experience on their website. So what we've done, we've created a plugin that contractors can use Contractor Commerce to have an online filter shop, which of course we do all of the work for. So imagine having your service technicians or install crews or CSRs getting homeowners to sign up for renewal subscriptions for filters, right? We all know they're buying them. They're buying them on Amazon today, or they're buying them from Home Depot or wherever.
Right.
So that's kind of step one, is a fully outsourced kind of filter department where you set the margin, you set the retail price, and contractors make, pretty good money on filters once they get it up and running. The other piece of it is, how can contractors sell maintenance agreements and club memberships and, tune-ups, or if you're Luhobica, water heaters and garbage disposals and, anything else you can think of. But then the bigger piece of it is, and this is this will lend into more of a kind of philosophical conversation about the future of the industry. That is the ability to sell fully installed HVAC systems directly on your website, or at least to give your customer pricing. So, as a search guy, right? Consumers are searching, they want information, they go online to get that information, and then they make a transaction or they convert somehow. And conversion can be a phone call or a contact form or whatever. Every homeowner who needs to replace an HVAC system wants to get some sort of ballpark pricing, some sort of idea. So our argument is that contractors should be the authority in that space. They should give pricing. Now, of course, there's different variables you need to account for and different disclaimers, but we know that other people are going to put pricing out there. We want to answer the customer's question. The customer's asking a question. Let's help them do it. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling there, but we see a future where every contractor has an online store.
It's a very undervalued aspect to the industry. So, because I'm thinking about me, right? Where am I going to buy my filters?
Sure.
More than likely, it's in the trip to Target that I can't get in and out for under $100 for anymore. But when I go, I know that there's 2 times of the year where I'm buying them, maybe 3 to 4.
Yep.
It's a natural feed for the contractor. So my follow-up question to that is, how have you seen it from your perspective impacting not only the revenue side for the contractor, as far as those that have adopted to have these plugins to the site, but how has it impacted profitability for those contractors as well?
Great question. What's interesting is I will get phone calls every day where a contractor will say, "Oh, I'm so glad I found out about you guys. I want to get out of the filter business. I want to have you guys handle it. And I'm tired of, running to the supply house, customer calls, they don't know what they need. And then I got to run, blah, blah, blah." I mean, when you start to add up the costs of managing filters in the office, it adds up really quickly. And it really adds up when you start talking about high-end MERV 11, MERV 16 filters that, you got to take a call for, you got to look it up in the system. You have to run to a supply house to get it, right? I mean, the costs are just exorbitant. So most people call us because I just want to get out of the filter business. I want you guys to take care of it. By the time I show them how Contractor Commerce works, they realize they were never in the filter business ever. And now they want to get in the filter business because they can send their customers to their own website. They can go to woodwardheating.com or Hobica or WeCare's website or, Alltemp up in Virginia. They can direct their own customers to their own website to check out and, to find the filter they need, sign up for a subscription. They don't have to sign up for a subscription, enter a coupon code, and get an Amazon Prime like experience dealing with a local contractor. And the homeowner never knows who I am. That's intentionally why our name is Contractor Commerce. We are the tools and technology that power it. We're not trying to build a big consumer brand. If the consumer lands on our website, they will be unimpressed. There's not much to do there if you're a homeowner.
Right.
But I just, to give you an example, I believe it or not, I'm a month late on changing my filters. Now I have MERV 16 filters. And so I went to Hobica's website. Lou Hobica's in Phoenix. I, of course, created a coupon code for myself. Thank you, Lou, for letting me do that. Lou has a 25% markup on his site. So everything that I have in my inventory, if he sells it, he'll make 25%. So I created a little coupon code for myself, gave myself a break, signed up for a subscription from Lou. So every January 1st, I will get 2 MERV 16 filters delivered to my house, and Lou will get the sales credit for it. He'll get the margin. But I ordered them on Wednesday. I got an email notification that Lou had shipped them on Monday night, all Hobica branded. And then yesterday morning, yesterday midday, they showed up, and I made the dreaded trip to the crawl space, which made me fold into like a taco and appreciate my tradesmen.
One of the things that, I don't know if this was a strategic decision on your part as in your new role, but a big announcement, you've just become a Nexstar strategic partner.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that. First of all, a shout out to the 20 years that Jack ran Nexstar. Yeah. An incredible shout out to Julian and where he's taking the direction of Nexstar. I know we wake up every day and here at One SEO and say, we are fortunate to be a Nexstar strategic partner.
Yes.
Because first of all, you're working with the creme de la creme in that world, as well as, CEO Warrior and Blue Collar Success Group or SGI. They're all great organizations, but, I think that this one's a big one for you guys. So talk a little bit about, the excitement that you have around it.
You ever heard the term ball don't lie?
Yes.
You familiar with that? So for those who aren't familiar with that term, if there's a controversial call in sports, and I'll give you an example. My son's basketball game the other night, tie game, the opposing kid was dribbling and fell, and they called a foul, and everyone knew it wasn't a foul. The kid got to go shoot free throws. Well, he missed the free throws, and he missed the free throws because ball don't lie. At the end of the day, the truth will be shown. So what I have learned about Nexstar over the years, and I've worked with them when I was at Lennox, so I knew them as kind of a strategic, partner or whatever. So I was familiar with the group. I've been to the meetings, but I really didn't get a true appreciation for Nexstar until I started having the opportunity to interview members. So we'd go into these interviews not sure where they were going to go, and consistently, and I've told Julian this too, there's a before and after. Okay. When someone tells their life, when you're Chad Peterman and you talk about how you took over the dad's business and you were here, and then where you are today, there's a clear break. It's things were going this way, and then I joined Nexstar, and now things are going this way. And it's not just coincidental. If any of the people that we've had, and again, we're Dave Geiger, we had Dave Geiger on the podcast. We never expected him to say like, well, I was, doing I had a plumbing company, and then we joined Nexstar. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. So the ball don't lie, right?
No,
the proof, and the contractors will tell you, the contractors will smoke out anything that's smoke and mirrors or snake oil or whatever, right? They will tell you. And Nexstar's ability to have the brand they have and then have all of those pivotal stories is all we really needed to hear. So we were able to connect with, their team there and kind of share our vision. What's different about us is we're a new category. Like when people ask about like, oh, are you like this and like that? I'm like, no, we're not like that. We are e-commerce for contractors. This is new.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you as part of the strategic partner program as a colleague.
Yes.
I think that, when I met the guys at Schedule Engine and I saw them kind of really take off, and to see them win Innovator of the Year.
Yes.
That's a goal for Contractor Commerce.
That is on the locker room wall as we speak.
At the Nexstar Super Meeting next year, is that you can walk up at when they're doing the award ceremony and you can hold up the trophy.
So that's a good one. A partner of the year. Like we want to be a great group of people to do business with. We charge $49 a month, right? But if I miss a call from one of my customers paying me $49 a month and I can't get back to them for an hour, I start to feel sick to my stomach. Like back to that same kind of desperation mindset, like the customers matter, the members rather matter. So expect high level of service with our team. So I can't wait to get in deeper and get to know some folks.
Contractor commerce, does it plan on going outside the HVAC vertical? Do you have visions of other verticals as far as, maybe more on the electrical side, and that, I can order light bulbs if I'm an electrical guy?
Sure.
Is it going to be the growth in the company, not only as far as adaptation from the e-commerce side for websites, because I think I saw a recent stat that there were like 195,000 contractors doing over $1 million a year in the country.
Yep.
I would probably say less than 1% of them is utilizing e-commerce in their website as it stands today. There's obviously a tremendous upside. Do you see yourself vertically going as well as horizontally going in your growth? We
have been very, very focused on HVAC. In Q1, we will be launching a similar experience that we have for HVAC pricing. We'll be launching for water heaters, and that's kind of our big step into plumbing. We're already kind of there because with contractor commerce, you can sell anything. You could sell Girl Scout cookies on your website. So if you sell plumbing services, you could do that today. The natural progression will be HVAC, plumbing, electrical. But no, we're going to stay focused on those three channels. We do have a relationship with a national locksmith provider. So our friends at Papa Lock, who may be listening to this, if you ever lock your keys in your car, the current path before us is you've got to call, a call center and get routed to a locksmith. Well, now in most places in the country, when you lock your keys in your car and you need to call a locksmith, you can go through that process on your phone. Are you locked out? What color is your car? What's your make and model? Do you need to order new keys? Whatever that is. We power that experience now, which is it's been a great way to, meet and learn from another industry. But no, I don't see us going too far out. We are committed to making e-commerce for HVAC, plumbing, electrical a thing. Okay, cool. How can people, besides calling me and saying, hey, tell me about that guy, Paul, I didn't get all his company information. How can people get a hold of your team to understand what contractor commerce can do? What's the best way to go about it? Yeah, thank you for asking. So contractorcommerce.com. Contact us, click for a demo, look at our pricing. Imagine that we put our pricing online. You can actually sign up we'd be hypocrites if we didn't allow you to sign up and actually implement e-commerce directly off our website. So go to contractorcommerce.com or, through LinkedIn, Paul Redman, Facebook Messenger, Paul Redman. I'm out there. I can be found, cell phone 303-217-0859. Throw that in the notes. Happy to connect directly with some folks. Listen, I found a freshman photo of you from Wittenberg. I know that you're out there. Yeah, that. So I'll come back to that because I'm thankful that I was young enough to, have a picture of me in college, which is great. But I'm old enough to where like videos of me getting dunked on or missing free throws are not available on the internet, right? So I couldn't find anything. The perfect time. Yeah, exactly. One of the things that we like to do here is the final roar. The final roar. And so, within the den. So here's what I'd like you to do. Talk about in your final roar, talk about the importance of e-commerce solutions and the value that it brings to the HVAC business and how this can impact their bottom line. All right. So I want everyone to just kind of stop for a moment. Do you think people in the future can be tomorrow, a week from now, a year from now, do you think they will shop online more or less than they do today? Probably more. Yeah. Can you actually envision a world 5 years from now where homeowners are okay with the only way to get good, accurate pricing and to be able to really understand what it would take to put an HVAC system or a water heater in their house, that they're willing to have 3 people come out to their house and go through that? I don't think that will be eliminated. I still think that's the best method for connecting with homeowners and building your value and all that. But do you think that that's the only way? Because we don't think so. We think that Customers' expectations will be in pace with all of the other expectations they have in the world. They're going to be more comfortable. They're going to absolutely expect to be able to do business with you through your website. And if that doesn't seem right to you, look at every other industry. We often will hear that, hey, that's not best for contractors. Hey, it doesn't really matter. Like, no one at Uber ever consulted taxi drivers on what was best for people to get around, right? So this is a cool opportunity. I'll leave you with kind of one more. I call it I tend to be a conspiracy theorist when it comes to the industry. As I look around, every manufacturer, every distributor, especially the publicly held ones, are under a lot of pressure to maximize performance, maximize shareholder value, right? As consumers become more and more comfortable buying things online, there's going to be a temptation for manufacturers and distributors to put their toe in the water. Some already have, right? We want to put contractors in a position. I'm talking specifically to Nexstar members now. We want to put you in a position that when the day comes where someone says, this manufacturer is selling directly to consumer and this customer just called me and they want me to install it, we want you to be able to say, we sell direct to consumer too. You can buy it right off of our website, and it comes with installation, it comes with warranty, and we'll actually deliver it in our own truck and not a FedEx truck. We want the value to stay with the contractor. And the only way that happens is if the contractors get their acts together and create an e-commerce experience that meets the expectation that consumers want. Otherwise, someone's going to meet that expectation for you, and it won't be pretty.
Paul, I thank you for your time today. I enjoyed having you on the Den. I know that you're going to get a tremendous amount of response as far as where we're going and the content that we'll push out. Congratulations on all your success, my friend. And I look forward to the continued relationship and your continued success at Contractor Commerce. And thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And can I leave with one comment about your wife?
Yes, sure.
All right. So sorry, I know you just closed it out, but I'm used to closing it out. So thank you all listeners. When I met your wife, I said to her, I was like, Sosa, I'm going to make you great. And she looked at me and said, I'm already great. So that's my Sosa memory. But yes, thank you for having me on. I appreciate friendship. I'm hoping we can have some fun working with some customers together, and hope to see you around soon.
All right. Listen, my friend, it's been a pleasure, and I wish you a great holiday season.
You too.
Thanks, buddy.